Hey, Hound Dogs, I'm David Hankins,
I'm Paul Hankins.
and you're on the air with Power Squared. This week, our guest is Jon Dexter, the creator behind Alpha Dogs and Dime Store Detectives. Hi, John.
Hi, how's it going, guys?
Pretty good. Glad to have
Thanks
you
for
on the
having me
show.
on again.
Yeah, you were the first person ever asked to be on the show, and we've got around to asking you to be on it too, so it's good.
Oh,
Glad to
cool,
have you
cool.
back. Um,
I feel privileged.
well, we're interviewing you ahead of your fourth Kickstarter, which should be Alpha
Yep.
Dogs 3. So you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so Alpha Dogs 1 came out last year, a little over a year ago, and that was successfully funded. Then Alpha Dogs 2, there you go,
Yeah,
there's Alpha Dogs 2 right there.
right.
That was successfully funded, and now I'm doing Alpha Dogs 3 with catch-up tiers for 1 and 2. In case someone had missed issue 1 and 2, which quite a few people did, they can purchase those. There's going to be 3 covers for Alpha Dogs 3. The regular, I've got homage to Hulk 181. And actually, I have an Empire Strikes Back homage issue,
With the
which
dogs?
is
Okay.
awesome. I decided to do my all-time favorite movie for my first homage. So I did Empire Strikes Back, and my favorite character from comics is Wolverine. So I wanted one as first appearance. And they look really cool. If you go to Kickstarter, you can see the covers are just awesome.
Okay, cool. Now, are these done by the same people that do your artwork, or is there somebody
Yeah,
outside?
yep. The same people. I got a different illustrator on the Hulk homage cover, but it's the same colorist for all the covers. Interior work is done by a different colorist, Lucas. He's done a great job with the inside coloring, as you can see with Alpha Dogs 1 and 2. It's all top notch. I don't spare any expense. I try to put out the best quality product I can, so people keep coming back. So
Right.
I got I did pretty good. I just got funded with issue 1 the last 6 days, and with issue 2 I got funded in the first 10 days. So
Wow.
hopefully issue 3 will do just as well. Um,
So, how much are you
me,
looking for?
the other ones I did for 3,000, but this one I'm gonna do for 2,500. I think just because I want to try to get funded even faster than before if I can. So that's what I'm gonna go for. I think it'll do well, even though with inflation recently, Kickstarter, at least for comics, have not been doing as well. I've talked to other creators, and they said it's definitely been slower the last couple months with getting funding. So
Yeah, it's either buy
hopefully it won't
gas
be
or buy
too
a
much of a
comic book.
problem.
Yeah. um, so, do you want to tell us a little bit about the story in Alpha Dogs 3, or is that keeping that a close
Yeah,
secret?
yeah. So Alpha Dogs, we pick up where we left off on Alpha Dogs 1. And for people who aren't familiar with Alpha Dogs, so it's about this pit bull named Buck, this overgrown pit bull who has the ability to heal from most any wound. He has a high enough intelligence that he can understand human speak, and he's got a slightly heightened strength.
Oh,
He's been on the run with his owner, Ina, and this other old pit bull that shares in the abilities of Buck. Um, a group of mercenaries is after them to try to manipulate the dogs and get their um, get them to work for them.
yeah.
So for years, the dogs' owners and the dogs have been going across the world trying to make sure they can stay safe from these mercenaries. So we pick up in this South Carolina farmhouse where the owner and dogs are living comfortably. She works at a bioengineering plant under a different name, and she ends up getting swept off her feet by this fellow engineer, and she ends up actually divulging the dog secrets to this guy who she's never done before. She's always been smart, but she's lived a very, very lonely life
Right.
with her just her dog. So, but if she tells him, he comes over to the house, as we see in issue 1, and little does she know that he actually knows of the dogs and their abilities. And once he gets in possession of the dog's blood, he can create his own superpowered dogs. So he's able to the older dog Cyrus in this story. He is not live the life he wanted to live, because he was his former owner, who was a great person, who we don't know anything about right now, but as the story goes along, we find out about the former owner of the old pit bull. Well, he ends up agreeing to give his blood to this guy that is trying to get the dog, so he can create his own superpower dogs, because he's got his own revenge plot.
Right.
And so this all plays out, and in issue 2, the antagonist's dog can grow to this big hulking size and is this murderous dog. And as we leave off, we find out that the mercenaries now know where Ina is in the vicinity, as in they know the state she's living in the city, and they start closing in on her. In issue 3, it's pretty much all about BlackRock, the mercenaries, closing in on Ina, while she ends up putting together Salem's mischievous plan after some strange events at her work. And then we get a pretty cool showdown in the story between the bad guys and the good guys. I don't want to get too much away with issue 3, but it's got a pretty awesome showdown, and we've been building to this for the first 2 issues, so it's going to be really exciting. I'm really excited to show people, and if you liked issue 1 and 2, you're really going to love what happens in issue 3.
I was smiling because you're talking about blood being important. That's kind of important in our story.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah. You should actually read ours. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, how'd you get interested in doing Alpha Dogs as a series?
We had our dog is pit bull. It's pit bull mix. He was supposed to be a French bulldog mix, but the guy at the Walmart parking lot lied to us, which I can't believe is so shocking that a guy selling dogs in a Walmart parking lot would not be on the up and up. But so we have in our town, they outlawed pit bulls, so we either had a choice to move or get rid of our dog, and of course we're not going to get rid of him.
Right.
So we ended up moving, and it kind of started brewing of the idea of this dog that's huge hulking pit bull, and everybody's scared of it, but it's actually got a great heart. I kind of use that Casper the Friendly Ghost kind of method of telling the story with this character. Casper's obviously really frightening to the public because he's a ghost, but actually he helps people and is great. So I kind of use that to build the character Buck, to garner sympathy for him, which is always, of course, the number one thing you want to do in telling a story is get people to care for the protagonist. So the story is, so that was kind of the beginning of it. And then I wanted to kind of create a story that had a really cool A story and B story, kind of like Lost or Game of Thrones, where we have our main story, then there's a mystery that weaves throughout the series that once it's kind of peel an onion, and you keep on peeling in more and more, and it gets a stinkier as it goes along with what's going on.
So I hope the payoff is better than Lost or Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it will be.
Those are not really known for
it will
payoffs.
be.
So do you want to tell us what are the tiers that people can, how they can
So
support?
the coolest tier that we have is Trish Forstner. She is the one who was the illustrator and co-creator of Stray Dogs.
Oh yeah.
That's a huge Image comic. It was comic of the year.
You read that.
It's kind of like Incredible Journey meets Silence of the Lambs, Stray Dogs. It's really, really terrific story.
Yeah,
so she is going to draw sketch covers as one of the tiers. We had an issue 2 as well and sold a few of those. So for $140, you get issue 1 plus Trish Forstner will do a sketch cover, one of a kind, hand drawn, for the people that want to get that. So another really cool.
How'd you rope her in? How'd you rope her in?
Yeah.
How'd you get her? I was like,
I just asked her.
That's the beauty of asking. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yep. I just messaged her on Facebook, and asked if she would be interested, and she agreed. So it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool get being that she's such a big name right now,
Mm-hmm.
in especially in not just the indie comic scene, but just all of comics right
Right.
now.
Yeah.
She does a lot of covers too, and there's a few new comics that she's been doing covers for. But yeah, so I was able to get her, and then it's going to be the same thing where our artist Lucas Urita, he's doing your pet, whatever pet it is, he will do a cartoon drawing of your pet, hand drawn, hand colored.
Oh,
It's really great. People have really enjoyed those. I've had nothing but good reviews from anybody that bought that tier. They love having their dog
yeah.
drawn and put on the. One guy showed me he's got it in glass mounted on his wall. The picture.
Is that the same 140 or?
It's 140 as well. Yep. The Trish Forrester and that one is both 140. Then I'm doing 3 comics. You can get all 3 covers for $33, so I make it a little bit cheaper because issue 1 regular is 10. The 181 homage is 12, and this Empire Strikes Back one is 14.
Right. So
But if you
together.
get all 3 and you get them autographed, it's $33. So, um, and so yeah, that's one of the tiers. And then if anybody wants to, they can do a Tumblr. We did the Tumblr as well from issue 2 too. That was kind of a hit. So we're doing the Tumblr. It's just like that, but only it's got the emblem from issue 3 with Buck and the evil dog. That's the new addition to Alpha Dogs 3. That's one of the tiers as well. So there's a lot of cool tiers. And then I'm not sure if we're still going to do this one, but I was going to do on the inside back cover, you could have your dog, a picture of your dog in there for $50 as one of the tiers. And there's only, I think I can do 10 of them and get it to where its wallet size is the smallest. Of course, the less people that pledge for the tier, the bigger the picture is going to be. So,
Right.
but at the very least, it'll be a wallet size.
Oh, I see.
If
On the
all
back
10.
cover would be okay.
Yeah.
All right. Huh.
It'd be color. So that's one of the tiers if I still do it. But yeah, people should check it out. The trailer for Alpha Ducks 3 is really awesome. You can see on this Kickstarter the trailer for issue 1 and 2, and those trailers were top notch. They're really really cool. I haven't seen anybody's trailers as good as the trailers for Alpha Dogs.
Now, did you have somebody do the trailers for you, or did you do them
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah. They are the same guys who produced the comic book.
Huh.
They also do the trailers as well. They do a little bit of everything. So it looks cool because I was a big fan of the Watchmen the live motion comic book, how
Right.
it moved and stuff. So I wanted to do that for Alpha Dog. So I wrote the script with that in mind, and they exceeded my expectations with the trailer. So
That's cool.
even if you don't want to buy the comic, go to the Kickstarter and check out the trailers. You'll be shocked how good they are.
Because it'll be live when this airs, so at the end you can tell people again how to get a hold of it.
Yeah.
Are there any stretch goals?
Yep. The first one is 30. I think 3,500. If that gets, then it's a higher quality paper stock. I like the higher quality, but obviously it's a little more expensive, so
Yeah.
that's going to go towards that. The next one I believe is 4,500, and that's a sticker, and it goes all the way up to I think 8,000. You can get a limited print, so
Wow.
we'll see. I haven't got close to the other ones, but you might as well put them out there just in case. So
If
it
it goes
doesn't
to
hurt.
100,000, I retire. And
Oh God, I know. I
um,
wish I could do those numbers.
yeah, I know. I see some of these, like, $70,000. Like, what the.
I know.
I-
It's just a lot of it's just you got to keep getting your name out there constantly. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough. I'm gonna plan on going to double. I only went to a few conventions this year because most of it was I got in there a little bit late. So next year I'm gonna try to get to a lot more comic book conventions because
Yeah,
that seems to be
We are
a
too.
good way of meeting the people because there's so much material out there right now. I mean, Kickstarter And any of the crowdfunding platforms, even or publications, it's just exploded. There's so much competition that um, you
But
almost got to go up to a person face to face and say, "Hey, you want to buy my comic?"
but see, none of them are as good as yours, so you have to think that. So
Exactly.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
crap out there you don't want to buy. So, what is your favorite reward that you're offering?
My favorite one is probably um, the one where it's all the Trish Forstner. I had her do a sketch cover for me too, and if you go to my social media, I'm on Facebook, but I'm also at Real Alpha Dogs on Twitter and Alpha co- underscore dogs underscore comic on Instagram, and you can see a bunch of the covers and the pictures from the comics. And I'm gonna put on her some of her sketch covers, and they're really awesome because she's got her own unique. It's kind of very Disney-ish, like Lady and the Tramp, and then
Good.
done from Alpha Dogs from the character Buck. It's pretty cool, and I'll cherish mine forever. The one she did for me. I'm gonna do another one. I'm gonna pay for her to do another one for me for this Kickstarter because she did such a great job.
Have you met her, or has it just been totally over
No, no, just
the
just
end?
over
Yeah,
over the internet.
that's
I mean, just texting.
right. No, I mean, we did like 3 or 4 issues without ever meeting anybody that worked on it.
No,
So,
I know.
you know,
Yeah, I know. I haven't met anybody that's done any of my work.
yeah.
It's like, well, they're all overseas too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Our original artist was overseas,
Yeah.
I
and
mean, you almost have to do it like that because um, it's so much more expensive. American artists,
well,
well, some of them are.
we managed to find one that we can afford. So she's been doing
Yeah.
it for God 17ish
Yeah.
or something like that. So we're, we're
Well,
we're lucky, I think, to have found somebody. Um,
yeah, yeah.
so so if somebody didn't see we've had you on before. If somebody hasn't didn't see that, tell us about Jon Dexter. What do you do? Where
So
are you from?
I started writing when I was pretty young. I was 15, and then I ended up at first wanting to do screenwriting, so I did a lot of screenwriting, and then I ended up doing a comic book called Steelhawk back to about 10 years now, and it just burned out pretty quick, and I just gave up on the comic book writing and went back to trying to do screenwriting, and then I ended up getting a the Academy Awards put on their screenwriting contest called the Nicole Fellowship, and it's the biggest. If there's a lot of winners that have went on and been made to feature films, like Akil the Bee is one of them. So
Oh, okay.
I was the top 180 out of 7,500 2 years in a row. So I had some interest in it in my screenplay. It was historical fiction, but it ended up falling apart like 99.9% of
Oh yeah.
screenplays. Um, and I went back to Alpha Dogs after we had moved and that kind of started. And then a friend of mine had said that he watched the Westminster Dog Show and it would be a great idea for me to write a comic book about dogs with superpowers. And at the time, I thought that's just the stupidest idea I ever heard. And then it just started percolating, and I couldn't put it down. And then I attributed, and I was watching Lost at the same time, and I loved how that they structured their TV show, and I wanted to do something. I wanted at the time to do something similar with that with this dog comic about dogs with these powers. So I wrote it, and just over the next 6 years, I just kept honing it, and rewriting it, until finally I decided to get 6 pages completed, send it to Image, and then that's when COVID struck, and there was nothing. Publishers shut down, and you couldn't do anything. So I had heard of Kickstarter and thought that's about my best avenue. So I was able to get Alpha Dogs 1 funded, like I said, about a year and a half ago, and then 2, and then I just recently did a new comic books limited series called Dinosaur Detective that was able to get funded here at the end of September, and so I'll be doing that 8 issues concurrently with Alpha Dogs. Just I'm going to space them out a little bit better than I did this time.
Back to
So
back. Uh,
yeah. But if you missed out on Dexter Detective, you can. It's an add-on for Alpha Dogs too.
so I was reading that you were very. You liked the Maltese Falcon, or was that
Oh
influencing
yeah,
you?
yeah. I'm a huge Humphrey Bogart fan. Uh, well, as I was talking earlier, I love Black Sad. That's a great noir. In the same Philip Marlowe, type
Mm-hmm.
character. I love that. I love um, anything to do with oh God, Raymond Chandler. I'm a big
Right.
Raymond Chandler fan. So
Yeah, I love Humphrey Bogart. I have a Maltese Falcon, one of those replica things.
oh, do you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the lighter from the Big Sleep. No, the lighter, I guess, from the Maltese Falcon, where it's push it down and it's like a forever match thing. I
Oh
bought
yeah,
one of
yeah, yeah.
those. Yeah, so yeah, I have
Yeah.
an old timey phone, so I'm all
Oh yeah, yeah. I was a huge fan. I went through my Humphrey Bogart phase when I was in my early 20s. I watched everything with him,
yeah,
and um, but yeah, Maltese Falcon. Any Raymond Chandler's. Well, he didn't write Maltese Falcon. That was Dashiell Hammett.
right.
There's a Humphrey Bogart movie written by Raymond Chandler. I think I want to say it's The Big Sleep.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, The Big Sleep. Yes.
yeah, and they're there's two versions of it, and they cut the one
Yeah.
that we see is doesn't make sense because they cut out stuff. It's a
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
Well, the book itself gets a little confusing too towards the end.
I think there was some
Parts of
question.
it.
I think there was some question they asked Raymond Chandler about it. And he didn't know the answer or something like that either. So, yeah,
Now that you mentioned it, this does sound familiar.
yeah. No,
But yeah,
yeah. Anytime there's I guess they just finished or they are finishing Humphrey Bogart month on TCM. So
okay.
there's a chance to see it. Any like if Casablanca or the Maltese Falcons on,
Oh
I
yeah.
have to watch this now.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Casablanca is in my top 5 all-time favorite movies.
So we have a lot in common. So I assume that Dime Store Detective is that vein.
Yeah, Dexter Detective. Yeah, it's if you think True Detective meets It, then
Oh
that's
yeah.
kind of in a very dark, very 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 dark episode of Dukes of Hazzard. If you put those three together, then you'll get Dexter Detective because it's about this. Well, we start out with this detective named Donald McIntyre comes on the crime scene of the latest victim of the serial killer. This is in the Appalachian Mountains. She's hung in a Christ-like pose, naked, over the burial grounds of where the
Oh,
detective's father and uncle buried multiple bodies 40 years ago. And we kind of go back and forth in between now and 1981 when the detective is a little kid and his family are moonshiners, 4 generations. His father and uncle are kind of feared through the county as these tough guy moonshiners. And then this new crew moves in on their territory and they're connected to the Dixie Mafia. And now, if you're familiar with the Dixie Mafia, but these guys were bad dudes. They were, this is the South in 60s, 70s, 80s, and cops were afraid of them. Everybody feared them, and they would sell drugs. They would do hits. So, in the story, the Dixie Mafia is connected to this crew that wants to move the family of McIntyre's out of the county and make it so they can't do any moonshine anymore. And this erupts into a bloody war. A lot of people get killed, and this evil entity is connected to it. And what it's connected to and why it's here, we don't know as the story unfolds. And seemingly, the entity is destroyed in 1981, only to pop back up again in the present day. And why it's connected to the serial killer, we don't know yet. And it's a noir mystery with a lot of supernatural elements to it. People will really enjoy it.
so how many issues do you see this being?
8. I've already written them all. They're all wrote out. It's a 8-issue limited series. So if it's got a lot of pieces of really cool genres. thriller, supernatural, mystery, and noir, because I'm a big noir fan. So I wanted to kind of have that same Philip Marlowe, where the higher ups hate him and he kind of goes rogue and does his own thing and doesn't follow by the rules.
Of course. Yeah.
So there's a lot of really cool elements to the old noirs, but it's a story unto itself. So it's
And
only 8 issues, but it's going to be really exciting. Anybody that loves that old history of the moonshining, the Appalachian Mountains, North Georgia, should read it, because it's got a lot of history with the moonshiners and stuff like that, and there's plenty
so
kind
do
of
you,
Hatfield and McCoys that erupts.
so do you live in the South?
No, no, I just geographically it's where I needed it to be, because it's the dry counties from back then
Okay.
down there at the Georgia border, and the Appalachian Mountains plays into it with where this evil entity is at,
Was you,
along with the old South. And there's a lot of story about the old dirty money, the money that's been there, the old money that's been there, and how people of wealth kind of seem to get away with murder. They
right?
kind of tackle that in the story as well.
Because Alpha Dogs takes place in South Carolina. I was just right.
Oh yeah, no, they're not connected, but
I know, but it
no,
seemed like you've had
it's cool.
this.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, that is true. It just happened to be like that.
Did you ever live in the South, or you just? I mean,
I lived in Florida for 3 years, and I would go and work in Georgia, towards Atlanta every year for about 6 years. When I worked with a construction company, we go down south for the winter to work, and we would work on these Air Force bases in Marietta, Georgia, and in Warner Robins.
okay. So you're familiar with the area you're writing about.
Yeah, familiar with it. Yeah, it's cool. There's a lot of history. That I love the old South. It's got a lot of cool architecture.
All right. Um, so, how many issues do you think of Alpha Dogs is going to be?
I'm thinking it's probably going to be about 50 issues to get it all told. I wrote it at one point. I wrote it as a book, so I saw it wrote out in a book form, and so it's all plotted out. And the way I look at it, there's going to be 5 volumes and maybe 6, so it's probably about 50 issues.
Wow, that's very.
Yeah. It's very I'm glad for punishment. But the first volume, this storyline is going to be about. I think I have 7 issues written right now, and I think I can get it all told in 9. So
Wow, and then you keep the story going. Oh, good luck with
yeah,
that.
yeah,
That sounds.
yeah. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping to get a publisher. That way, I can churn stories out a lot faster than, because Kickstarter,
Yeah.
it's a lot limiting. You got to raise the funds. So
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that I'm going to take the first 3 issues and see if I can get a publisher. So we'll see what happens.
Okay. Can I ask what you do for a living?
Yeah, I'm a stripper. I'm just kidding. The way you
Okay.
asked it,
That's
I was
fine.
put on trial. I work as a construction inspector,
Okay.
so a field tech. So
And stripping on the
currently,
side. Okay, we got that.
I'm working across where they built a hotel at the casino in South Bend, Indiana. They have the tribe, the Pokagon people. They have spots here down in the area in South Bend and Mishawaka. So they built a casino a few years ago, and it did really well. And my company was the engineers on it. So then they built a hotel, this 24-story hotel that I've been on, working inspection on the concrete and soil for the last 2.5 years. So
Wow.
it's been pretty cool. It's really enjoyable when you can see something you have a little piece in build up to be such a massive, extraordinary structure.
Gives you a feeling of accomplishment to be part of that.
Yeah, something tangible.
And so, you're using the same creative team on Alpha Dogs and on Dime Store Detectives?
Oh no, it's well, some of them are. The interior illustrator is different than the one I have for Alpha Dogs, but the color is the same. The cover artists are the same, and the letter is the same. But it's different interior artists. His name is Luca Ciccitti. He's Italian. I just kind of he had texted me on Facebook if I was looking for any artists, and I saw his work, and I just thought it fit really well with that noir look I wanted of
Yeah.
I was inspired by the novels of the Pulp Fictions from the 30s and 40s, and
Uh-huh.
those those dime store novels that I've always been fascinated. I never read one, but the art, the art is just so, it's got such a cool um, aesthetics to it.
Right.
I'm a big fan of it, the melodrama of it. So I did that actually. I want one of the variant cover for Dexter Detective was inspired by that.
Okay. Um, so we asked this question of everybody. So who's the ideal reader for Alpha Dogs?
The ideal reader, I would say, it would be guys in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and probably in their 50s, really. It's kind of a little more mature reader because there's the blood and shooting and stuff, and it's a more serious tone. And even though there's dogs in it that talk to each other, it's more of a serious tone kind of comic book. It's not doesn't have much. I try to put a little humor because it is talking dogs after all. You gotta add a little bit of levity to it.
Yeah.
So I have some of those elements into it, but it's very fast paced, and people. I haven't heard anybody say they don't love Alpha Dogs after they read it. They seem to really enjoy it. So
Good.
issue 1 was an intro to the characters, and issue 2 was kind of building up the story, a lot of exposition, and issue 3 will be a lot of payoff for that. So it'll be really exciting. I can't wait to show more pages. We've got a dog that I wanted to look really wolf-like mixed with Doberman. So it's a kind of Doberman mix that can run 86 miles an hour, and that's his superpower. And he's a mutate dog, and the mutates in Alpha Dogs, there's 2 of them in this one. They have some issue with their eyes. One of them is blind, and the one in this issue, his eyes turn red because it looks red is really cool and scary. So there's eyes, and they have this hatred, in whether it's instinct or just jealousy. They have a hatred for the dogs that don't have these side effects like these dogs have. So there's not just a lot of tension between the dogs and Salem, the one that's created them, but now they have these other dogs that are have these nasty side effects that make them very aggressive to the dogs that they don't have them that also have superpowers. So one of them is a dog that's really fast, and then another one, I don't tell the power yet. I reveal it instead of saying it. So I wait till they use it to say what the power is. So,
Okay.
but
So
you'll find out with his speed pretty early on.
when does so your Kickstarter goes from when to when?
October 4th to then it ends on November 4th. So
30 days.
it's a 30-day Kickstarter.
And you're trying to raise $2,500. And is there anything else you want to? How would people find your Kickstarter if they just go on Kickstarter and type in Alpha Dogs?
Yeah, you can just type in Alpha Dogs, and it'll come up Alpha Dogs Comics. If you just do a search there, or like I said, you can find me on Twitter. If you Google Alpha Dogs Jon Dexter, you're gonna pretty much find out everything you want to know about it. But like I said, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. So if you're a dog fan, if you love dogs, this is a perfect comic for you. If you like stories, a lot of mystery and adventure, then you would enjoy Alpha Dogs. So
Okay.
just check it out.
So, and do you have a website if people want to look at that?
No, but I need to get one. I definitely need to get one. I don't have one. I mean, they can always DM me on Twitter or Instagram. Like I said, my Twitter is at Real Alpha Dogs, and Instagram is Alpha_Dogs_comic. So
Okay.
you can always DM me there if you want to get a hold of me.
All right. Well, good luck with this, and hope it's a big success.
Thank you.
So,
if you're watching this on YouTube and you like this, leave a like. And if you want to see more stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe and ring that bell.
so until next time, I'm David Hankins,
I'm Paul Hankins.
and you've been on the air with Power Squared.